Morning all, welcome back. And we've got 8 games tonight, as I've said, and I'll say it again. Tonight we're going to be going to the Vancouver Canucks against the Dallas Stars hockey game. And as a result, you're going to be seeing the review being posted a little later. But if you're in Europe, you might be happy at when the review gets posted. Thursday, usually a big day, 8 games tonight. The big day is Saturday. Saturday is the massive day of 15 games. So just keep in mind, 15. And 5 of them are matinees. So again, to people watching in Europe, you want a day to watch NHL hockey, Saturday's your day where you're not going to have to stay up till stupid late just to watch some hockey games from North America. All right, first up, we have the Carolina Hurricanes and against the Buffalo Sabres. This one starts at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. Carolina's 10-7-1. They're standing overall. They're 16th in the NHL. They've scored 61 goals. They've allowed 52. Their power play is clicking at 22.4%. Their penalty kill at 81.8% for a total of 104.2. Above 100 is good. Above 110 is excellent. On the Buffalo side, they're 9-6-2. They're 19th overall in the NHL. They've scored 50. They've allowed 48. They've got a power play of 25%. Their penalty kills at 77.1% for a total of 102.1. Leading scorers, I went with goal scorers today. So not just points. If you're going, well, this guy's not on there. Well, then he doesn't have as many goals as somebody ahead of him. Hamilton, 8 goals and 11 assists. Aho, 8 goals, 5 assists. Haula, 8 goals, 3 assists. Svechnikov, 7 goals and 11 assists. Those are your top goal scorers for the Carolina Hurricanes, who currently sit 1 point out of the playoffs. Buffalo, Eichel, 8 goals, 11 assists. Reinhart, 8 goals, 7 assists. Olofsson, 7 goals, 5 assists. And Skinner with 7 goals and 3 assists. They are currently 2 points out of the playoffs. Buffalo fans will tell you they haven't played as many games as a lot of teams ahead of them. And that's why, it's interesting to look at the standings, but don't take it with a whole lot of importance yet, because there are teams that have 3, 4, 5 games in hand on other teams in the league. And it really skews who's actually having a good start to the season and who isn't. You see a team and you go, well, this team's 5 points ahead of that one. But they've played 3 more games might be my answer to that. So things get a little sketchy, but it's still kind of fun to look at, even though it's early in the year. And between these two teams, Buffalo needs to start winning. Carolina needs to start winning. I would imagine some desperation in this one, and there might end up being a high score. I'm just throwing that out there. We might end up seeing a high score in this one. Moving along. Rangers in against Tampa. This one starts at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific as well. Very similar teams when you look at the overall numbers, which is unexpected. The Rangers, 8-6-2. They're 23rd overall. They've scored 54 goals. They've allowed 53. Their power play, 23.2%. Penalty kill, 79.7% for a total of 102.9. Then you go over and look at the Tampa Bay side. They're 8-5-2. They're 22nd overall. They've scored 52 goals and allowed 52. Their power play's at 26.2%. Their penalty kill at 75% for a total of 101.2. There is very, very little to choose between the New York Rangers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. If the Rangers can go in tonight and get a win over Tampa, they'll start getting some respect. And that would lead Tampa to be very concerned. Tampa, on the other hand, coming back from the back-to-back wins in Stockholm, they want to get on a run. They want some consistency. We haven't seen that from Tampa yet. And yes, much like other teams, they've played less games than the ones ahead of them. But you've got to win the games you get. And so far, they've won 8 out of 15. Scoring-wise, on the Rangers side, Panarin, 8 goals and 11 assists. Kaapo Kakko, 6 goals and 2 assists. So we're forgetting about the slow start for Kakko. And now the fact that he is scoring makes a big difference. Strome, 5 goals, 11 assists. D'Angelo, 5 goals, 9 assists. Best value contract in the National Hockey League. On the Tampa side, Stamkos, 5 goals, 10 assists. Kucherov, 5 goals, 8 assists. Palat, 5 goals, 4 assists. And Shattenkirk with 4 goals and 9 assists. Both of these teams sit 4 points out of the playoffs. So we may very well see a 3-point game between these two. I think it's going to be close. And I'm tempted to take the Rangers. I'm tempted to take the Rangers in this if I'm betting on tonight. Only because Tampa has struggled with finding consistency. They've won back-to-back games. Sure, they'll lose this one. and they'll start looking pedestrian again because, of course, they will. That's just been the way things have gone lately. So we'll see. Moving along. Winnipeg, these guys, they're in against Florida tonight. This one starts at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific as well. And for Winnipeg, they're 10-8-1. Florida's 9-4-5. Overall, well, Winnipeg sits 17th overall, 51 goals for and 58 goals against. Florida sits 10th overall. They've scored 67. They've allowed 67. So they're 10th. They've won 9 out of 18 games. And over here, winning 8 out of 15, Tampa Bay's 22nd. So this is what I talk about when we get into the standings. It's fun to look at, but in reality, you've got some teams that have played a lot more games. And in Florida's case, they've lost a lot of games in extra time, which definitely skews those numbers as well. So, special teams. Well, Winnipeg, 16.7% power play, 72.5% penalty kill. That's a total of 89.2. That doesn't get it done. On the Florida side, 24.6% is their power play, 81.6% their penalty kill, 106.2 overall. The goal differentials of 51-58 for Winnipeg, 67-67 for Florida. Shows you Florida's better in that category. But they're not dominant. So when I've seen some comments lately about, how great they're playing, I'm thinking, well, they've played well and they've won some games against some good teams, but I wouldn't put great out there yet. Barkov's been great. He's not on the board today because he doesn't have as many goals as other guys ahead of him, but he will. He is willing himself to a large number of goals. On the Winnipeg side, leading goal scorers, Scheifele, 7 goals, 10 assists. Ehlers, 7 goals, 7 assists. Connor, 6 goals, 7 assists. And Blake Wheeler, 5 goals, 5 assists. Yeah, 10 points in 19 games. That's a steep drop. They are the number 2 wild card. They're tied with Nashville for third in that division. And they're also tied with Vegas for that second wild card. So it's a bit of a logjam there. On the Florida side, Huberdeau's their leading goal scorer, 9 goals, 15 assists. Dadonov, 8 goals, 8 assists. Hoffman, 7 goals, 5 assists. Connolly, 6 goals, 5 assists for him. They're number 3 in the Atlantic, but they're tied with Montreal for second. They're 3 points behind Boston, who is first. So Boston, who we might think if you don't look at the standings, well, Boston's pretty well free and clear. No, the losing streak Boston's been on lately has really wiped out any advantage they had over other teams, especially since 2 of those losses have been against Montreal and these Florida Panthers. So things are tightening up a bit there. Moving along. Next up, Arizona in against Minnesota. And yes, that's my Akbar magnet. So it's a trap magnet because at 11-6-2, Arizona in against 6-11-1 Minnesota. And coming off Arizona beating the 2 most recent Stanley Cup champions, this is when you can understand a team taking another team a little bit lightly. Now, they're 7th overall of those Coyotes. They've scored 56 goals. They've allowed 46. Allowing 46 is absolutely obscene. On the Minnesota side, they're 30th overall. They've scored 47. They've allowed 63. So Minnesota's not going to the playoffs, and things look kind of ugly. Now, when you look at special teams, power play, 16.9% for Arizona, but their penalty kill at 80.7 leaves them at 97.6 overall. Whereas Minnesota, they're actually higher there. They're higher there somehow. 17.8% power play, 82.1% penalty kill for a total of 99.9. So they're almost 100. But 5-on-5, not so much. Leading goal scorers, Garland, 8 goals, 3 assists for Arizona. Dvorak, 6 goals, 3 assists. Grabner, 6 goals and 2 assists. And Soderberg has 5 goals and 4 assists for the Coyotes. They are second in the Pacific. They're 2 points behind Edmonton. They're 1 point ahead of Vancouver. Now, according to NHL standings, if they win tonight and Edmonton loses tonight, they have a game in hand on Edmonton, so they go ahead of Edmonton in winning percentage. But Edmonton has 1 more regulation win than does Arizona. So technically they'd be first. But yeah, again, if they go with regulation wins as the tiebreaker, Edmonton right now is 2 ahead of them. On the Minnesota side, Stahl leads them in goals, 6 goals, 8 assists. Zucker, 5 goals, 6 assists. Hunt, 5 goals, 5 assists. Parise, 4 goals and 2 assists. They are 8 points out of the playoffs. 8. And they got to jump over pretty much the league to get to the playoffs. And that gets really more and more unlikely as we get into the season. But that's why this is, to me, a trap game. This is one of those games that it's very easy to look at and maybe overlook your opponent, especially after emotional victories over the Blues and the Capitals. I could see a letdown tonight, but we'll see. That being said, I now need to change boards. And resuming with Colorado and the Oilers. And this one starts at 6 o'clock Pacific. Of course, the Minnesota game starts at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. This one, 9 o'clock Eastern. This may very well be the game of the night right here. Colorado and Edmonton. Absolutely. Colorado on a bit of an upswing. Edmonton on a bit of an upswing as well. Colorado's unexpected because of injuries. Edmonton's unexpected because it looked like they were going into what is their annual fall from grace. Not so fast, said the Oilers, or more importantly, Leon Draisaitl. The Avalanche 11-5-2, the Oilers 12-6-2. So their record's very similar. The Colorado Avalanche 6th overall, Edmonton 5th overall. Goals for and against. Colorado's outscoring their opponent 66-49. The Oilers 61-54. So overall, the goal differential's better for Colorado. 5 of those goals in that goal differential are going to be the extra goals they got ahead of Nashville. So, anyways, the overall numbers, special teams wise, do favor the Oilers. Power play 20.3% for the Avalanche, 83.3% penalty kill, also for the Avalanche, 103.6 altogether. On the Oilers side, 28.1% on the power play, 86.4% on the penalty kill for a total of 115.5. You maintain those kinds of numbers, excellent chance of making the playoffs. You just have to be decent 5-on-5. You don't even have to be great, just decent. Now, the overall goal-scoring leader for Colorado, of course, is Nathan MacKinnon with 11 goals, 15 assists. Donskoy, 9 goals, 5 assists. I like Donskoy. I didn't expect that much from him already. Kadri, 6 goals, 7 assists. And Makar, 5 goals, 13 assists, 18 points for this year's Calder winner. It's going to happen. They're number 2 in the Central. They're 4 points behind St. Louis. They are 3 points ahead of Nashville for that spot. On the Oilers side, Draisaitl, 15 goals, 21 assists, 36 points. Pretty good start to the season for Draisaitl. Neal, 12 goals, 2 assists. McDavid, 11 goals, 20 assists. Just putting up 31 points in 20 games. No big deal. He's just on pace for like 125. It's pedestrian, right? Compared to what Draisaitl's doing. Cassian, 6 goals, 8 assists for him. That rounds out your top 4. They're number 1 in the Pacific. They're 2 points ahead of Arizona right now. So again, kind of a big night for them. And the fact that the Oilers, Arizona, and Vancouver are top 3 in the Pacific, nobody saw those 3 being the top 3 in the Pacific. I'm not saying it's going to be there at the end of the year, because I don't believe it will be. I think at least one of them drops out of the top 3 spot. But it is remarkable to see this taking place. Absolutely kind of fantastic, because it just means the league is so wildly unpredictable. And I like that. I think that's fantastic. I don't care about my preseason predictions. Once they're done, I'm like, all right, well, they're out there. We'll see what they do. I'm very happily wrong about a lot of this. So far, anyways, I was wrong about stuff that ended up being right at the end of the season. But anyways, last year. All right, moving along. Dallas. Dallas is in against Vancouver. Dallas, 9-8-2 now. They're 20th overall in the NHL. They've scored 46 goals. They've allowed 46 goals. They're not scoring very much, but they're also not allowing very much. Now, on the Vancouver side, they're 10-6-3. They're 11th overall in the NHL. They've scored 63 goals. They've allowed 50. Pretty good numbers for Vancouver overall. Power play and penalty kill. Well, Dallas's power play is miserable, 14%. Penalty kill, 82.8% for a total of 96.8. So if that power play got better, then their number goes over 100, and then we could talk about how solid they are on special teams. On the Vancouver side, 25% power play, 83.3% penalty kill for a total of 108.3. Vancouver special teams, while inconsistent, when they're on, they're fantastic. Look at the Nashville game. Now, scoring leaders, this is where it gets tricky, because Hintz is the leading goal scorer, 9 goals, 2 assists. He ain't playing. Radulov, 5 goals, 5 assists. Pavelski now up to 5 goals, 5 assists. Pavelski's been getting better. He had 2 goals last night. We'll see what he does tonight. Faksa, 5 goals, 3 assists. This team sits 1 point out of the playoffs right now. 1. Remember, they started the season 1-7-1. They've turned it around a little bit since then. 7-1-1 since then. On the 8-1-1, I should say, since then. On the Vancouver side, Pettersson, 8 goals, 15 assists. Miller, 8 goals, 11 assists. Besser, 8 goals, 11 assists. Horvat with 6 goals and 8 assists. They sit third in the Pacific, 3 points out of first, and 1 point behind Arizona for second. This division is close. If the Oilers were to lose and Arizona wins and these guys win, it's 1 or 2 points separating first from third in the division, which would be fantastic. Again, I like that a lot. And nobody really had anticipated Vancouver necessarily having this kind of record already. But we'll see. They've won 1 of their last 5. So we can't get too carried away. But this should be a fun game either way, because for somebody who cheers for Dallas and Vancouver, that's a fun one to go and see. So it wasn't really an option of whether or not I was going to see this game this year. It was, yeah, I have to. All right. Next up, San Jose Sharks. The Sharks in against the Anaheim Ducks. And this one starts at 7 o'clock, same as the Vancouver game, my time. 10 o'clock Eastern. The getting relevant Sharks at 8-10-1. They're 25th overall. They've scored 54 goals. They've allowed 67. As bad as those numbers are, they're getting better. Their power play, 20.3%. Their penalty kill, 91.4%, for a total of 111.7. It's been 5-on-5 play that's been killing them, really. On the Anaheim side, 9-8-2. They're becoming less relevant. They are 21st overall. They've scored 50 goals. They've allowed 53. In other words, it's time to wake up. It's time to get things going. Their power play, 8.2%. Not 18. I didn't miss a 1. It's 8.2%. Penalty kill, 79.7 for a total of 87.9. That is pretty bad overall. Those are special teams numbers that say you don't go to the playoffs. Now, goal scoring wise, Evander Kane, 11 goals, 5 assists for San Jose. Hurdle, 8 goals, 11 assists. Meyer, 5 goals, 6 assists. LeBanc, 5 goals, 4 assists. And Barclay Goodrow has the same total of 5 goals, 4 assists for him. They're 4 points out of the playoffs, the Sharks. So they are getting back there. On the Anaheim side, Silverberg, 8 goals, 7 assists. Henrique, 8 goals, 5 assists. Getzlaf, 7 goals, 5 assists. Raquel, 5 goals, 6 assists. And they're 1 point out of the playoffs right now, Anaheim. So a California team, it's got to get in the playoffs. We can't see all 3 of them not make it. And right now, all 3 of them are out of the playoffs, with Vegas also sitting out of the playoffs. So that's all 4 teams that are in pretty close proximity to one another out of the playoffs. And then that 5th team that's not too far off, Arizona's, they're number 2 in the division. Who saw that coming? Now, last game, Detroit. The Detroit Red Wings in against the LA Kings. They play at 10:30 Eastern, 10:30 or 7:30 Pacific. 7-12-1 is the overall record now for Detroit. They sit 28th overall. They've scored 46 goals. They've allowed 75. That's not great. But they're getting better. Their power play, 16.7%. Their penalty kill, a woeful 69.3%, for a total of 86. On the LA side, they're 6-11-1. They are last in the league. They've scored 46 goals. They've allowed 67. Their power play, 10.8%. Their penalty kill, 71.9%, for a total of 82.7. And, you know, I see these kinds of numbers, and I think back to Drew Doughty after the Canucks drubbed him, saying a team like ours can't be losing to a team like that. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said. This team, like theirs, hasn't been what they envisioned that they would be. So we'll see how much further down this can go. And at home against Detroit, which would seem like a gimme, well, ask the Ducks how that works out. Detroit, the plucky underdogs, even though they're ahead of LA in the standings, this LA's at home. They should win this, right? Not necessarily. Mantha, 11 goals, 8 assists, leads Detroit in goals. Mantha's line mate Bertuzzi, 6 goals, 12 assists. Larkin, 6 goals, 9 assists. And Hronek with 4 goals, 6 assists. Not on the board, but noteworthy every night is Fabry. Watch Fabry. They're 7 points out of the playoffs, so they're not going to make the playoffs, but still, this is fun. On the LA side, Kopitar, 6 goals, 12 assists. Carter, 5 goals, 2 assists. Jeff Carter's point totals dropping has been startling this year. Brown, 4 goals, 6 assists, and Doughty also has 4 goals, 6 assists. They are 8 points out of the playoffs and fading fast. Could find themselves as far as 10 points out of the playoffs after tonight, although Detroit could find themselves further out as well. This is the night we're going to have. It's going to be a very interesting discussion when it comes to which teams need to rebuild first. Keep in mind, I suggested whichever team admits first, all right, we need to tear this down, I think is usually the one that gets the best out of their deals. They're usually the one that comes out the other side looking like the smartest of the bunch. The one that at the last minute goes, all right, we're giving up. At that point, the market's already been set, and things may not turn out so well for them, as opposed to the one that has that foresight, that planning. As fans, we can respect that when a general manager comes out and goes, this team isn't good enough, we're going to go ahead and tear this down and figure it out. We'll see what these guys do and which general manager makes those decisions first. I think Yzerman's already starting to put his vision into motion with some of the moves he's made. The Fabry one being the most recent, but adding Adam Ernie and bringing in Perlini, I think there's a style he's looking to play. I think there's a certain player he's looking for. In LA's case, they decided to scratch Kovalchuk, and there seems to be some dissent somewhere in this, and we'll see what happens. Todd McClellan, I think, is still settling out exactly who he wants to keep and how he wants to play. And then they're going to try to give him that team to make him successful. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.